Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In spring training of baseball this year, I put out a video saying why I thought the Cubs would win the World Series at the end of the season and why they might very well face the Houston Astros in the 112th World Series. The Cubs are looking strong to appear in the World Series. The Houston Astros, they're on the cusp right now of not making the playoffs. I said a few weeks ago, if it's not the Astros, it might end up being the Texas Rangers instead, who have a manager that's from Houston. Earlier this year, there was a big Texas Rangers tribute with 3 big retirements in the span of a week. One was A-Rod, the other was Prince Fielder, and the third was Teixeira, who announced this will be his final season. All 3 men, formerly players for the Texas Rangers. If you missed that video, please go back and check it out. What I want to talk about is the significance of the September 9th beginning start to the series of Cubs versus Houston Astros, which I thought might be the World Series matchup. It still could be, but if not, this series is still a tribute to the 112th World Series to come, and this solidifies my pick for the Cubs to win the World Series. Let me explain why. And down in the description, I'm going to link my spring training video in case you haven't seen that. We're going to talk about all the same numbers that I brought up in spring training. And when I made that video, I wasn't aware of this series. I wish I had looked at the schedule and saw that this was scheduled to start on September 9th. So September 9th, September 10th, and September 11th, the 3 days of the Cubs versus Astros. Again, it's been 108 years since the Cubs won the World Series. 108 very relevant to baseball. There are 108 double stitches on a baseball. The first and last stitches are completely hidden, which means you can see 106. 106, the number of prophecy. Special number to baseball there, 108. So check this out. The series begins September 9th, 9-9. And Illinois in gematria sums to 99. Illinois is not on a big World Series drought because the White Sox have been there recently, but the Cubs are, and the Cubs are the favorite team in Illinois. So Illinois, 99, big series starting on 9-9. And what you should know is this year's the 112th World Series. Houston is the only city that sums to 112. So think about it. The Cubs playing the Astros on this date of significance, connecting to the 112th World Series to come. And for the record, that is the main reason that I thought the Astros might be the Cubs' opponent this year. The Astros are also 54 years old this year. They won their first game this year on April 5th, a date that's written as 5/4 in most parts of the world. It's because their opener against the Yankees was rained out. So check this out. Illinois equals 99 the big way. Illinois equals 45 the small way, just like Cubs. The reason I have the number 13 written up here is because 13, a very special number to this nation, began with 13 colonies. There's 13 stripes on the flag. There's 13 years of public school programming. USA in gematria sums to 41. The number 41 is the 13th prime number. Relationship there. The day this series begins, September 9th, 2016, it's a date with 54 numerology. The word baseball equals 54. 54 outs in a complete game, 27 for each team. Again, Astros 54 years old. It's also a date with 27 numerology. MLB equals 27. The team that leads with the most World Series wins is the New York Yankees, who have 27, not by coincidence. They might never win another. If you guys want to come to my blog and check all the research I have on baseball, there's a wealth of knowledge here. You know, the Yankees just called up those 2 players that set that record with the back-to-back home runs and their first at-bats. Check it out. All that stuff is scripted by the numbers. When you're watching pro sports, you're watching a theater performance scripted by the numbers. The word baseball also has gematria of 18. 9 plus 9, 18. Whole lot of 9s in baseball. You know, 9 innings. If a pitcher threw 9 straight strikes, it would be 3 straight outs. You don't see that too much in baseball. So here's what else is interesting. From September 9th, the day this series starts, to the date the World Series begins, October 25th, that's 46 days. And look at this. Chicago Cubs in Pythagorean Gematria 46. Chicago in simple English 46. 46 days from the start of this series to the start of the 112th World Series. Again, Houston 112. Jake Arrieta earlier this year threw a no-hitter exactly 46 days after his birthday. First no-hitter of the MLB season. I have a video on that. You can go back and watch it. Search Zachary K. Hubbard, Jacob Arrieta. It's going to pop right up. Lots of no-hitters in baseball are right on by the numbers. First no-hitter, 46 days after Arrieta's birthday. That no-hitter also came on April 21st, which was the 112th day of 2016. Think about that in the year of the 112th World Series. Here's that gematria of Houston. From April 21st, the day of the no-hitter, to October 25th is 187 days. That's the homicide code. I don't exactly know, what the full meaning of this number 187 is. It's coded into the first president's name, George Washington. Perhaps in this coding, it means the homicide of the no World Series streak. That's what I'd be hoping for if I was a Cubs fan, which I'm not. I'm just a fan of the truth and waking people up to what's really going on in this world. Last year in spring training for the 111th World Series, I called that the Mets would be in that World Series. I said why it would be the Mets and not the Yankees. The reason I made that call is because New York equals 111, 111th World Series. The last game of the World Series was played on 11/1. This year, the 112th World Series, if it goes to Game 7, it'll be on 11/2. How perfect, right? So I wanted to document this. I wanted to document what the standings were, what was going on 54 days before the World Series, with it being the relevant number to baseball. Again, baseball 54 days out. These were the standings in MLB. In the National League, the Chicago Cubs with 85 wins. Significant lead over the next team, the Nationals, with 78. The Nationals are another team that I've done a lot of work on in recent years. I feel like they're due, If there was a team to upset the Cubs this year, I think it would be the Dodgers or the Nationals. And I think I said that in spring training as well. I've been watching those teams, making videos about them the last few seasons. So something else I wanted to document, just before that, 57 days before the start of the World Series, the Cubs got their 46th win at home against Chicago. Cubs 46, Chicago 46. 57 days before the start of the World Series, they got their 46th win at home. World Series has gematria 57. Last year, 57 days after the World Series, Dave Henderson dropped dead at age 57. Former MLB player who finished his career with the Kansas City Royals. Henderson equals 57, dead at 57, 57 days after the World Series. The world of pro sports is full of rigged games and ritual sacrifice, and that's why my goal in this work is to get people to stop participating. When you buy a ticket, when you subscribe to League Pass, pay-per-view, whatever, you are giving your money to a very sick gang of people. A gang of people that hate you, that all they want to do is rule over you, distract you. They give you these things that you like, but you don't realize what they really are. You don't see that they're rigged. You don't see that people are being murdered for them. You're participating in something sick as a fan of these leagues. The reason the Cubs haven't won for 108 years is because baseball is rigged. Pro sports are rigged. Oh, by the way, the date they got that 46th win at home, the Chicago Cubs, it was a date with a life lesson number of 46. If the Cubs do not make the World Series, I will be thoroughly amazed. So in the American League, the standings 54 days out were, as you see, Houston Astros had 71 wins at the time, and here's why that's interesting. The World Series, the day it begins this year, October 25th, 2016, that's a date with 71 numerology. Astros had 71 wins right at that day. Now, does that mean they're going to the World Series? It doesn't. What it could be a tribute for is the fact that it's the 112th World Series and they're Houston. Also interesting, the NBA season begins this date, and 71 It will be the 71st season of the NBA starting on that specific date. The recent story out of Chicago about Dwayne Wade, his home city, Chicago, just joined the Chicago Bulls, supposedly his cousin killed. That is not his real cousin. It's not even a real person. It's a completely propaganda, bogus story. Her name, Nikia. It sounds like Nike and IKEA, and I guarantee you that's no coincidence. It's a propaganda story. It's subliminal programming. You're probably going to hear her name all NBA season, and Nike and IKEA will probably sell even more stuff. Her name sums to 71 in Gematria, like the upcoming 71st NBA season. These athletes, the reason that they are used so much in propaganda in the news, earlier in the day before she was shot, Dwayne Wade was speaking on ESPN about gun control and gun homicides. Less than a month before that, he was at the ESPY Awards talking about the same thing. It's all propaganda by the numbers. The reason they use athletes is because the gullible masses, they worship athletes. They're their idols. They're who they believe in, who they trust in. But really what they are talented sellouts, overpaid assholes who don't give a fuck about the fans. And because they're paid liars, they're the perfect agents to use in propaganda. That's why athletes are used again and again in propaganda. The Freemasons, the Zionists who run sports, they run your media, they run your government. Read your Bible. You don't have to be a Christian. Read Revelation, the final book of the Bible. It tells you who's going to rule in the end times. The false Jews, the Zionist Jews. Who's the mayor of Chicago? Rahm Israel Emanuel. Born on November 29th, the anniversary date that the nation of Israel was recognized. The Zionist nation, the false Jew nation. These people aren't even real Jews. They are the false Jews. Read your Bible. The false Jews will rule in the end times, and that's exactly who rules your world. That's why when you turn on the TV, it's nothing but Jew, Jew, Jew. Mike and Mike in the morning, what do I want to hear from two fucking stupid Jews from? Mike and Mike, born into this Masonic bullshit agenda. Jewish filth. And there's a lot of it in Chicago. So here's the schedule for the World Series. Game 7, 112th World Series on November 2nd. Not a coincidence. Everything's done by the numbers by this gang. That's why your 111th ended on November 1st. If you were watching the game, it was the 111th pitch that got broken up for Matt Harvey that knocked in the first run. They showed the hitter's batting average just before the pitch. He was batting 111 for the series. On the 111th pitch, knocks in the first run that ends up starting the little run at the end of the game that ended it for the Mets. And by the way, if you missed my work on the World Series, I also predicted the score of the only game the Mets won before the game. I said to look out for a score of 3-9, and that's exactly what it was. New York, the small way, 39. The big way, 111. New York only won one game in the World Series by the numbers. And CNN, before the game, told you that the score was going to be 39. That's how I knew. Go back and watch. Houston, they're also big in the world of sports this year. They just hosted the college basketball championship that was won by the numbers. Villanova, in their 57th tournament win ever, won the championship. When you write out 57, it equals the same thing as championship, the same thing as Super Bowl. Again, World Series equals 57. The Cavs finished the regular season with 57 wins. Look at this. The Super Bowl's in Houston, though, this year. Remember this. Andrew Luck played his high school ball in Houston. Andrew Luck won 12. Horseshoe won 12. Pretty sure we'll see the Colts in Super Bowl 51. Houston Astros equals 51. Houston Texans equals 51. Conspiracy 51. Again, last year, 111th World Series. I also want to point out this. From the same day, 54 days out before the World Series, the Rangers' last game was against the Mariners. 1-14. Big blowout. And a scripted game. Look at what baseball is in Jewish gematria. Kind of like a score of 14-1. 54 days out, baseball 54 in simple English gematria, 141 in Jewish. You get it? This is why you have to know all the gematria formats. The more you know, the more you'll recognize in the scripting. Think of the different formats as synonyms in English. So many people go, I don't get it. Different formats? That doesn't make sense to me. If you guys would just think for once in your life, you'd realize things. How many words do we have in the English language that mean the same thing? Synonyms. It's the same thing in gematria. Think of these numbers connected to words, but also the numbers being synonyms. Different ways to communicate the same thing. It's really not that complicated. Also on this same day, I had to laugh because the Yankees defeated the Royals 5-4. 54 baseball, 54 days out. Team that's won the most World Series. Team that has the most World Series versus the team who won the World Series last year. Again, the Astros won their first game against the Yankees this year on April 5th or 5/4. Part of the reason I also picked Cubs and Astros is because the last time the Astros were in the World Series, they were in the National League where the Cubs are, but since then they've moved to the American League. The last time they were in the World Series, they faced the Chicago White Sox. So wouldn't that be something if they also faced the Cubs? It would be par for the course at the world of sports. You want to look at something funny? Look at the history of Philadelphia basketball championships. When they moved from Philadelphia to San Francisco, the next time the team played in the finals, they played the new Philadelphia team, the 76ers. The Warriors, originally from Philly, moved to San Francisco, then Golden State. The first time they played somebody in the championship once they were in San Francisco was Philadelphia. It's just so stupid. It's so in your face. It's the same thing every time. You know, I don't know how anyone watches sports and thinks they're real. They're so ridiculous. You watch these pros who get paid millions of dollars make dumber mistakes than you'll see a 10-year-old make, at the amateur child level. Again and again. Horrible mistakes to decide games. No doubt that the Red Sox curse with through the legs with, what's his name? All intentional. All intentional. If you're thinking about Steve Bartman or whatever his name is, the foul ball incident with the Cubs, check my blog. It's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing stuff. So let's close out with this. The Astros just paid all this money to supposedly the best player in Cuban baseball, but they paid for him and they didn't even have room to put him in their lineup the way their team's set. But here's why they signed him. Everything is done by the numbers. Everything is a joke here. This guy's name in gematria sums to the same thing as Houston, 112. The year of the 112th World Series, they signed this big Cuban star, a whole bunch of Cuban U.S. stuff this year. Barack Obama by the numbers, visiting Cuba. Go back and watch my video. Everything going on in this nation is rigged and scripted. News, government, sports. We are living out a planned agenda by the Zionist Jews who wrote all this stuff a long time ago. They probably wrote out the 108-year gap for the Cubs. The name he goes by as a baseball player also has gematria of 108. If you take out the full name, Yulieski Gurriel, 108. Cubs trying to break the 108-year streak this year. Remember this if it does end up being Astros and Cubs. Astros could still rally. There's about 30 games left. Plenty of time to come back. They're just, a game or two out of the playoffs right now, and 30 games, that can be made up. From this man's birthday, June 9th, until the upcoming World Series is also a span of 139 days. The reason that stands out to me is because Freemasonry equals 139. A lot of these things are Freemason tributes. I'll link all these posts. You can read the details more carefully. Let's close out with this one, though. Major League Baseball equals 162 game season. The reason it's that, plus MLB in English gematria, also sums to 162. As for 52 in Jewish gematria, that's the number of prophecy. The manager of the Rangers, who's from Houston, he's 52 years old. His name equals 52. Texas Rangers equals 52. All of the retirement announcements, A-Rod, Teixeira, Prince Fielder, they were all synced up with the prophecy code. When that happened, it's what made me think, okay, maybe I have it wrong with the Astros. Maybe it's going to be the other Texas team with the manager with Houston connections. If you have time, True Seeker, I'm going to link this video. This is from Dan Barrett. He's somebody who learned from me, and he is brilliant. If our minds were computers, Dan Barrett, his mind is a more powerful computer than mine. He is really brilliant at making connections. For some people, he might be too mind-blowing because he just goes, you'll see, he just goes nuts. But anyway, he just put out this video right here. It doesn't even talk about the current World Series in his title, which he should have put there, but he talks about the current World Series, Chicago, the history of the Chicago Fire. Everything he connected about Chicago and 108 and 54 in this video is mind-blowing. You only have to watch about the first 14, 15 minutes to hear all he has to say on the topic. So I'm going to link this video down in the description, and hopefully you check it out. Dan needs more subscribers. I can't believe how few subscribers he has because this guy is truly brilliant. If you're into my sports work, if that's what you're mostly here for, pretty much all Dan covers for the most part is the sports stuff. I think you would honestly like his channel more than mine. And, I'm here to help other people out. I want to see Dan be more successful in his viewership. It's possible that YouTube is really squeezing him because he's putting out some profound stuff. So, I'll link this video in the description. It's mind-blowing what he's uncovered. Thank you, Dan. Dan, one of my earliest students and easily one of the most brilliant. So there it is, Truth Seeker. Until next time.